Hello, everybody. Welcome to my review of my chapbook. And Evan and everyone else watching, hope you all enjoy. I'm going to go straight into the title here. It is Cherish the Memories and Go into the Unknown by Colton the Bias. For my title, I decided to put a few pictures up of myself. The first picture in the upper left corner. Oh, and by the way, I'm looking at everything on my laptop. So by the time this video is uploaded, I'll post it on Schoology if you would like to look at it then. My first picture, we're going to start in the upper left corner, is a picture of me as a baby. If any of you watched Bear in the Big Blue House, that's the show in the background, because that was my favorite show one of my favorite shows growing up. I had a bunch of them. And then the picture right next to it is a picture of me and a few of my friends at my 6th birthday party. That was probably one of my favorite birthday parties I ever had. I had great memories from there. All my friends from my kindergarten class were there. That was just such a fun day. Oh, and Pete, my cat, Pippi. Say hi to the people, Pippi. Okay, very good. And then the picture on the bottom left corner is a picture of me that I believe I was in 1st grade, so that was my 8th birthday party. And when I was looking at these, I didn't realize I had the same cake. Well, I'm a big NASCAR fan, so it seemed like I always had a racing cake for my birthdays when I was little. And then the last picture on the bottom right corner is a picture of me at a NASCAR race that I went to last year with my dad. And the reason I chose these pictures was because these are some of the fondest memories I have from when I was a little kid. And the theme of my chapbook is to cherish the memories. We're going to start off with the first part, and that is cherish the memories. So meaning that, like, I have a lot of great memories from my childhood with my family and my friends and, my pets here with my Pippi, who's 12 now. He's going to be 13 in August. So I have a lot. I have a lot of great memories from my time living in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, and I just want and a part of who I am today is because of all the great memories I had with my friends and my family. And the last picture is kind of like saying going into the unknown, because my dream is to one day work in a sports broadcasting one day. If I had the choice, it would be NASCAR. So that is why I had that picture, knowing that is at a NASCAR race, and it kind of blends into the present as well, because as a student at Point Park, that's what I'm trying to get into. And then going into the unknown, and we'll talk about that later, because of all the hopes and also fears I might have for the future. So we're gonna go into my artist statement here, and my opinions that Evan wanted us to write down. And the first one saying, though, I'm not gonna read everything because that would just take too long for you guys, and I don't want to hold you up too long. So I'll just try to summarize everything as much as I can. So I do think writing is a legit art form, and I know that, and I can see that firsthand because my parents are painters professionally. So it kind of is an art, because the way I see it is just with writing, like, you need to prepare, and so do artists. They need to prepare their storyboards, what colors they're going to choose, etc. And the same thing with writing. You need to figure out an outline with characters, plots, and a setting. So that was just the first thing that came to mind with that questions. And, I do have a lot of fear. And, I pretty much wrote all my stories with this class through my feelings. Excuse me. And like with the poetry, truth, and fiction, I felt they all blend in to my work, and I was able to focus on those feelings that I had at that time with what I was writing. And a lot of my poetry and a lot of my fiction and even my nonfiction were inspired by maybe the hopes and the fears that I have, and also the past memories that have turned me into the person who I am today. And, this course really did make me find new ways to think about how I approach writing. Because when I came to Point Park, for some reason, I just started to think a lot about it's just like the memories that I had as a little boy, knowing that, like, I'm going on to this next stage of my life at Point Park. I'm going to be away from my parents for a significant time, for the first time in my life. And it just made me think about, how do I want to be remembered for my childhood, and how do I want to be remembered as a person in the future? And it really made me think about, like, how much I care about my family's heritage. I mentioned that a lot throughout the course of the semester, and just things like that. And it just made me think about the person who I want to be. And a lot of my work was inspired through the emotions that I had. And I was able to write my feelings down so I can comprehend them better and deal with them in a better way. So this class was able to help me tremendously with that. And, and the reason I took this class is because I wanted to build on a relationship with writing, because as a journalist, it's an essential skill to have. But, with this class, I felt I got a lot more out of that. I was able to write down my feelings from pen to paper, and it really helped me comprehend not necessarily what I've been going through, but just the great memories that I have from the past and the present. And it really helped me focus on the present, because that's something that I'm kind of guilty of, is I always look at the past and the future, but I don't look at the present. So that really helped me with that. Alrighty, so we are going to get to my first piece here, and then I have a pattern that I have with this. I will let you guys know what that pattern is at the end. So my first one is my Talisman poem. I did a little bit of revising with it, not a lot though. It just talks about, like, my thoughts and my feelings, and, like, things I hope to inspire to be. Some of my favorite quotes, including one from I guess we can put out one example from my one of my favorite sports reporters, and his name is Marty Smith. He's a reporter for college football on ESPN, and he says, "Be kind, work hard, and the rest will take care of itself." And that's kind of like a motto that I've been trying to, I guess, live on ever since I heard that quote, because I just think that it's something that really feels a good connection with me. Knowing that, like, I want to be someone who's kind, and I want to be someone who works hard, and I figure if I do those two things, and if you do that as well, the rest will take care of itself. Right, Pippi? Okay, so, and then we're gonna get to my first rhythm poem, and it was called "Where I Am From," and it talks about going through my first day as a college student and leaving my house, remembering waking up in my house the day I was going to be moving in to Thayer Hall and to come to Point Park. And it just made me think about, where am I from? Well, I'm from a suburb in Export, PA called White Valley, Pennsylvania. I grew up there, and I have generations of family that have grown up in White Valley as well. And I was just talking about how much it means to me, knowing that I got the chance to grow up in a place that means so much to my family, especially my dad's family, because much of my dad's family actually grew up in White Valley, and actually a portion of my mom's family grew up in White Valley as well. My mom's dad grew up in White Valley, so that meant a lot to me, knowing that I'm never going to leave White Valley behind. No matter where I go, I'm just a kid from White Valley, and I'm proud to be where I'm from, and I wouldn't have chose it any other way. I love where I'm from. I love my family. I love my friends. And it just kind of talks about how I'm going to be moving on to that next chapter of my life, going to college, but I'm never going to leave my hometown behind, no matter where I go. So the next story, it's my creative nonfiction story, and it's probably, I guess safe to say, it's probably one of my favorite stories I got to write about. It was called Grandma Nita Christmas, Memories, Love, and Honor. And I had to put a picture. And so this picture, if you're following along, it is a picture of my great-grandma Nita, what I believe was around her 80th birthday. my father, and me. I had to be, I think, 4 months old at that time. And it talks about the Christmases, because my family and I, we would always go over to her house for Christmas Eve. And I just remember there's so much great memories there. So many people came over, not just family, but like friends from around our neighborhood. I just remember everybody being together. And for some reason, my great-grandma Anita, she had a dancing Santa that sang, "Here Comes Santa Claus." And for some reason, I was scared of it. I don't know why. It's a mystery to me to this day. I remember one time my dad was taking my brother and I over to my grandma's house around Christmas time. And I remember I saw the Santa and I ran out crying because I was so upset because I was scared of it. But I remember this one Christmas, I overcame that fear. And I remember dancing to it with my mom and I think my aunts. So I think that was pretty much, I think, my first time getting over a fear. So it's just reasons like that. It just means so much to me. And, you know, I still think of those every Christmas time. Because I don't want those Christmases to be forgotten by my friends and my family. Because I was only alive for 5 of those. Because my great-grandmother passed away in 2004. When I was 5 years old. Now, like, my family and I have had a lot of great Christmases since then. We kind of switched over to going to my mom's parents' house, and I have loved every minute of those Christmases as well. But it's so special to me because my grandma Anita is not here with us, and I always will remember her. And also, she also was the only great-grandma. She was also the only great-grandparent I ever knew. So that really means a lot to me, knowing that I actually got the chance to talk to one of my great-grandparents, because a lot of people might not have that chance. You know, and I was so happy I did, and I was just so happy I have all these great memories of her, and especially around Christmas time. And also, she always made pizzelles for me, and every time I eat a pizzelle, I always think of her, and I just always think of those Christmases, everyone gathered in her living room, talking, eating in the kitchen. You know, those are just always fun memories that I will always have. And part of those have turned me into the person I am today, because I'm somebody who doesn't want to forget family heritage. So the next one is my Vignette poem. Oh, and by the way, if any of these sound familiar, all of these are from class from this semester. So my Vignette poem, it's called More Than a Video Game. And it actually takes place around the Christmas where my grandma Anita passed away. And this was around the time I started to get interested in NASCAR. And my cousin got a video game for Christmas, and he also got a GameCube. It was called NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup. And I remember playing it at my grandma's house, and I was so jealous because I didn't have it. And I wanted this game so bad. And I just didn't have it. And it was... And I remember one time I remember I cried one night because I wanted this game so bad, but my birthday was a month away. So, and it kind of blends into the title page, because the picture on the upper right-hand corner of my 6th birthday party, I opened all my gifts at home after we came back from the party. And the last gift I opened was NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup from my aunt and my uncle. And also, I also got a GameCube earlier in the day from my grandparents. So, remember playing it, plugging it in for the first time, playing it with my dad. And I still play it to this day, actually. And it just talks about how, like, there's like an object or something that you really feel connected to. You know, and that was just something that really came to mind, knowing that, like, my love for NASCAR kind of came in with this video game, and how I want to make it a career out of this. So it's just the little things like that have had such a big impact on my life. And then we're going to get into the creative nonfiction, and then we're going to get into a creative nonfiction piece that I did called Greed and Grateful. So it takes place in the near future in Charlotte, North Carolina, at this famous lake called Lake Norman. A lot of famous people live there. There's some really nice houses on that lake, and so it goes talking about this teenager who wants a car, and he is so jealous and he is so angry because his parents didn't give it to him, and his mother is trying to tell him, like, no. So the character, his name is Mark. His name is Mark, and he tells Mark, like, your race, and he's also a racer as well. He races in a racing league, and she says, they're like, Mark, your racing career, like, it's so expensive. Like, we can't afford to get you we can't afford to get you a car that you can drive, and then you also have your race car, and her mother, her name's Kim, said she's just going to have the Sarah truck that they have with her sister, and, and Mark is trying to make his case, and then finally Mark breaks, and he says, my God, you never let me have anything I want. And as he came up to his room, and his dad heard him, and he came shouting at him. He said, hey, what'd you tell your mother? And Mark kind of started to get a little guilty. And, Cole tries to say that, like, do you seriously think you haven't had a damn thing? And, Mark continues to say silent, and then Mark's dad, Cole, just says, talking like about his childhood and how you should be grateful for the things that you have, because he never would have been able to drive a race car when he was a kid because he couldn't afford it, and just saying that, like, and even his mom, Kim, comes into the conversation saying, there was kids out there your age that are wondering, like, when they're going to eat again. You have no idea how good you have it here. And Mark feels guilty. Mark does feel guilty after his dad says, you need to be more grateful for what you have, son. Like, who cares what your friends think? Like, you have a family that loves you, and you get to go onto a lake anytime because they live in a lake house, and you always have food on the table and a roof over your head. And, Mark, he walks away with his head down, and he seems to be upset because knowing he feels guilty because he should be counting his blessings, but he isn't. I feel that's something that is important in today's world, is we should count our blessings. As someone like myself who can get jealous sometimes, I just always try to sit back and always think of my blessings and what I have, and just how grateful I am to be born into a family that loves me, to have great friends, great pet, and just all these things. And it really, and it does make me happy knowing that I do count my blessings. And it's just kind of a way to encourage people to do the same. So moving on to my creative fiction piece, another one, it's called The Hopes of Being a Great Father. So it's about this guy named Nick who just found out his wife is pregnant. And he's very nervous about it because he's afraid he isn't going to be a good father. Because he always remembered about how, like, back, like, when he was in college, and also this also takes place in the near future as well. It, because Nick was thinking back to times when he was in college and thinking about like, oh, he remembers seeing like these videos about like millennials because he's a millennial. And he said, oh, these millennials don't know everything. You know, like I feel sorry for this country like 20, 30 years down the road because millennials are going to be running everything. You know, and he kind of took that to heart because he never wanted to be like that. He wanted to be somebody to make an impact on this world. You know, and he was so afraid that, you know, like if he does have a kid, he's going to get maybe into like some millennial habits that he has never wanted. Maybe like not, maybe being like lazy, maybe not being thankful for what he has, always caring about himself. And he thinks about this for a while, and he talks about this to his mother, saying about like, oh, how mom, like I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just so afraid that like my kid is going to be like obsessed with video games, for example. He's never going to try to understand the meaning of life. He's going to want everything handed to him. You know, and he said, you know, and his mom, her name's Lorraine, she says, I'm trying to find it here. You know, and she kind of says, oh, I found it. She says, you know, remember you were going to have good times and challenging times as a family. But just remember to set boundaries, be hard but fair, and make sure to teach him or her how lucky you are to be born into a great family with parents that love him. And just that, I'm sorry, I was trying to find something else, but it's okay. So, you know, in the end, they think, and, you know, and Nick, it's just the moral of the story is just like Nick kind of fears for nothing, knowing that he knows he's going to be a great father, and he's going to be a great wife in the store, her name's Susan. And he knows he's going to be all these things. It just took him a while to realize it. You know, that's something I struggle with, you know, maybe worries that I have. Like, not like necessarily the worries in the story. It's just the fears that I might have for the future. But I know I just think about, like, I know I'm going to be alright. Because I know what's right from wrong. And I know if I do have kids, you know, I'm going to make sure to love them and do everything I can to help them too. So finally, I know I've been kind of horning. I know I've been kind of here a little long, so here's my final piece. It was one of the first things I wrote this year, and it's called Into the Unknown. And it talks about my fear that I might have, maybe some voices inside my head that are trying to maybe tell me different things. You know, and it's just a way, and it's just a way for me to say, like, I know I feel you, but you don't own me. You don't control me. I control myself. And I can't wait for the future that I have, that I'm going to have. And I can't wait to go into the unknown. And I wanted to conclude on that one because I think that's like the moral of my piece is go into the unknown. Be you. Just work hard. Don't be afraid to take risk. And never live in fear. Because you're always going to be alright. And just things of that nature. And to conclude on, I did this, like, I started off with stories about the past. And then I concluded with stories from the future. So it's kind of like in chronological order. In a way. Because that's how we live life. We live life in the past, in the present, and in the future. You know, and the first couple of stories represent the past. And then, I guess all the stories kind of represent the present because I was writing them in the present, even though I'm done with them. And then I conclude with stories about the future. Because that is what we hold. And, you know, and from the great Doc Brown from Back to the Future, you know, your future's whatever you make it. You know, so make it a good one. And, you know, and then that's something I just continue to think about. And all these go to my future because I want to remember the past, live for the present, and hope for the future. And also they're color coded, because I saw online that like blue represents the, purple represents the future, I think, and I think blue either represents the past or it just blended in with orange really well, and also the same with the yellow for my artist statement. So I think that's gonna do it here. 25 minutes later. Jeez, I didn't realize it was gonna be this long. But anyway, thank you so much thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. You know, I really did enjoy the class. I learned so much, and I look forward to see what everyone does in the near future. So I guess for Pippi and me, thank you thank you so much for everyone for watching. Hope you guys have a safe summer, and hope everyone is staying safe during these times.